Hi, I'm Pamela Davis, welcoming you once more to the Reincarnation Chronicle. And as you know, I am an investigative transformationalist, meaning that I delve deeply into life's great questions. And we've been exploring one of the big ones, that is reincarnation. So, what is reincarnation? Well, it involves something that we've all been doing hundreds of times, but we just don't usually remember it. And I'm talking about going in and out of bodies, in and out of life, which is what reincarnation is. To incarnate means to come into the flesh. Reincarnate means to come once again into the body, into the flesh. So we've done this, most of us, hundreds if not thousands of times over past eons. Long, long, long time. Into a body, out of a body. But we don't remember. What we do have to remember is that these bodies that we've had, there have been so many of them, we are not our body. Not this one, not the ones of the past, and not those that we'll have in the future. The body is something like it's a vehicle. It's like a car. And you buy a car, you drive it for as long as it's comfortable and as long as you like it and it works. And when it's ready to give out, then you dump it and you'll go find a new car that works more to your needs. Well, it's the same with our bodies. So we are souls having a human experience in human bodies, in and out, in and out. However, there are certain stages in this process that tend to be rather standard for everybody. Not 100%, but most of the time there are stages of transition that we're going to explore so that you can have a better understanding. The most important thing to remember is that there is absolutely nothing to fear in the process of leaving the body. Of course, what's understandable is that none of us wants to have an agonizing, painful, frightening, horrible death. That's the process preceding the transition, and we all hope that it will be, pleasant and or at least peaceful. When it isn't, of course, it's traumatic. But once, whatever it is, however it happens, what happens as you have left your body and the vital signs have stopped, then there's a different process that begins. And if the process has been painful, if you've had, if you've been wounded or hurt in an accident or wounded, shot in war or tortured or, all kinds of things, burned, for example, you're going to have an immediate release from pain, and you'll feel a tremendous sense of well-being and the total absence of pain or whatever the cause of death might have been. Sometimes we hover over the body and the scene at the deathbed or battlefield or whatever to kind of take in what's happened, but very quickly there comes a kind of an irresistible pull that will begin to pull us back or pull us upward, sort of a sense of being pulled upward into another dimension. And for those of us who saw that wonderful movie, the Patrick Swayze movie with Demi Moore, Ghost, remember toward the end when his job with her, he had apprehended the murderer and protected her, and then he was done. It was time for him to go into the other levels. It's really quite beautiful the way they showed that, and rather close to reports. Now, how do we know? What reports are we talking about? Well, there are different ways that we have of knowing. There are people who have experienced clinical death, and there are generations now of medical personnel and psychologists and so on who have worked with people who have been declared clinically dead, who died on operating tables or through other means, and then who are sent back. It's not their time to go. And they come back, they regain consciousness, sometimes after seconds, minutes, sometimes after hours and hours. And they come back and report what they have experienced. And again, what they've experienced is not always the same thing, but there tend to be major similarities in most of their reports. So there is a pull into another dimension, and what happens, what opens around you, above you, in front of you, is some sort of a tunnel. It is described a little bit differently. People see it slightly differently, but that's because we're all individuals. You know, we all have our ways of perceiving. So the tunnel might look a little different to each person. Oftentimes it is kind of a swirling vortex. Sometimes it's gray, sometimes it's black, sometimes it's light. It's a tunnel of light. And this sensation is one of being drawn up into it. And what appears shortly then is a very beautiful, powerful, effulgent figure at the end of the tunnel. A shining being that beckons us forward toward him or her. It's generally a being that is perceived as without necessarily having a gender. And so we are drawn toward this being of light. Now, once we get there, the experience, again, might vary depending on our belief system. For example, Christians, Catholics frequently report that the being that welcomes them into the other levels is Jesus or Saint Peter. Jews might report being welcomed by Abraham, for example. Muslims by Muhammad. Buddhists report seeing Lord Buddha, and Hindus Lord Krishna. And in ancient times, the Egyptians would have seen their gods, perhaps Osiris or Horus or someone like that. But and sometimes the being doesn't seem to have any identifiable identity at all. It doesn't really matter. The point is that you are greeted with tremendous love and acceptance and a sense of total well-being. And what often happens at the same time, or somewhere right in there, you know, as this is all going on, you will find people that have preceded you into the other levels, your grandparents, relatives, mother, father, who you know, other people that have been dear to you that have gone ahead, who are there to welcome you, to let you know that everything's okay, to help you feel accepted and acclimated, and to let you know that, hey, this is a good place, and we're here to help you get comfortable. What also happens at very shortly within what we might think, there isn't really time on the other levels, but within, say, hours, for example, you begin to have and to go through the life review. Every person who transitions goes through this. It is an absolute. There are no exceptions. Some people can postpone it quite a bit if they really don't want to take a look, but it's inevitable for everybody. And what happens is that we are shown as if we were watching a Technicolor movie screen, something that looks like the movie of us, the movie of our life, the life that has just been completed. And what we see from the very beginning of life until that last moment is the record of every event, every action we've taken, every decision we've made, every word we've spoken, every thought that we've had, not only within our own minds about ourselves, but about everybody else. And we see our interactions with others. And this, of course, can be very uncomfortable. It can be awful for some people who have been abusive and cruel, because not only are they forced to look at what they did, but they then see how it really affected the individual that was at the receiving end of their action. And this can be very painful, because what happens is not only are they seeing what they've done and how it affected people, but they also are experiencing the impact as if they themselves were on the receiving end. In other words, they're feeling what it was like to have dealt with them. So this, of course, is very instructive. It lets us know how we could have done better, and we can certainly all have done better. However, this is a purely instructive exercise. It's not like a final judgment. It's not something that's going to end up as some sort of damnation, that we're not going to be sent to hell directly after seeing this. Although there could be a whole variety of experiences then that follow this. Now, sometimes, if we've been decent people and lived basically good and kind lives, we often are taken into, well, the Greeks used to call it the Elysian fields, paradise, certain kinds of heaven, but it's often a heaven that would be of our own device. For example, we could be welcomed by family members who have created a space. Maybe our ideal is a beautiful farm or a cabin in the woods, or someplace by a beautiful lake or ocean, and a house where we have everybody that we love who's there, our pets, our animals, and everything that is dear to us. If you think about What Dreams May Come, that beautiful movie with Robin Williams, it's the kind of the place where he was pulled toward when he transitioned himself, full of beautiful bright colors and those that he loved. So we're going to continue in our part 2 of the stages of transition in the next segment. So please catch up with us, and we're going to continue talking about the other levels.